in the previous video, we actually show you for, let's say in the student class, we got two versions of the add course record methods at the student level. And also we did another two methods at the student management system level, right? Add course record. Okay. Now we do similar practice over here. Okay. Now I want to draw your attention to the two methods that we did before, also in the student class. First of all, we got a method called getMarks. Okay, which means given a course title for students, and we can actually find out what the marks are. And also we got another method called setMarks, in which case given the title and the new marks for the students, we can also set it accordingly. Okay, that's at the student level. So what we like to do now in this video, we want to define the setMarks and also getMarks at the student management system level. But how do we use them? The way we define it will be very similar to how we did for the add course record. Okay, let's just look at the ideas on the iPad and then we'll do it. In the Java, it's very easy. Okay, so now this is how we expect to use the methods over here. Let's see some example. Okay, so now the context object is no longer just students. So what you will do is SMS. So we talk about this SMS objects. Okay, so now when you say getMarks, so what would you get? When you say getMarks, so now you say, I want to get the marks for the students called Tom. In which case, we're going to say SMS.students over here. We're going to identify where that particular student object is. This is where it is at index 1. Okay, over here. And then for that particular student, we want to get the marks for their course identified by EECS 2030. And where is that? You can see we can look through this particular student's courses array, and then what's the index of the course for EECS 2030? It is exactly over here, EECS 2030, so that will be index 1. Okay, you can see followed by index 1 and then index 1. Okay, that's how we locate this particular course record and return the marks accordingly. Okay, so what we did before in the previous tutorial video, we simply say, for example, we can say S2, which is a student object, as a context object, S2.get marks, and then we'll simply say EECS 2030. You can see the input is a little bit different, right? We both have 2030 over here, but now in the case of the SMS, we have to identify the student objects. And in this case, we don't have to because it's already a context object. Okay, that's the difference. And similarly, we also want to do something like what we did before. We can say s2.setMarks, in which case we also have to pass the name of the course 2030, and the second input will be, for example, 64. Okay, so these are the two methods we did already before in the previous video. But now in this video, we're going to support these two at a higher level. Okay, SMS. The idea is very simple. Basically, remember we got index of students class already defined in the previous video, so we can simply find out index of Tom, in which case it will be telling us it is this student object over here. And then we can call the getMarks method on the student objects directly, which is by reusing it. Okay, that's the idea. And similarly for setMarks. So let's see example right away. Okay? Let's see how this can be done in Java. Okay, so now let's go to our student management system class, and then let's say after add course record, let's say integer getMarks. Okay, so now we'll get string the name of the students and also string the title of the course. Given the name of a student, get the marks for that student's register course with title. Okay, that's basically what it means. So how do we do that? So what we can simply find out the index of. So integer index is assigned to index of students and then the name of the students. So once we find it out, we can now have different cases. In the case where the name of the student does not exist, for example, right now we only got Jim and Tom. If you pass Alan, Alan does not exist, so that should be an error, right? So now we say if index larger than or equal to 0, in that case we can get it. Otherwise, it should be an error, okay, which we'll handle just a little bit later. Okay, so now we can say integer marks will just be -1, okay, as we did before. So now marks can be reassigned to, so now we know that index is actually valid because it's larger than or equal to 0. So now we can simply do this dot students, and we just identify that to be index. You can think about this dot students at position index is very similar to S2 over here, right? Okay, and then we can say dot get marks and then the title of the course. Okay, as easy as that. Okay, and then return the marks. Okay, you can see that over here, the get marks over here, the get marks is implemented from in the student class. Okay, I'll show you in the debugger in just a moment. Okay, that's how the get marks work. Let's see that very quickly. Over here, what we'll do is s out, okay, marks of, let's say, Tom's EECS 2030. And what we'll do is we can simply do, and then we can say SMS dot get marks, and then we'll pass Tom over here, and then we'll pass EECS 2030. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, so now what we expect to see is the marks of Tom's 2030 should be 61. So that's what we should expect to see. Okay, and then we'll simply just launch the tester and see what we get. Okay. Okay, you will see that it's exactly 61. And the next task will be, let's say once we support this get marks at the student management system level, let's now support the set marks also at the student management system level. And we do it in a very similar way. Okay, so now that's what I said before. In order for you to understand what we're doing right now at this point of the tutorial, you must make sure you understood all the previous videos. Okay, so we are really building gradually to something that's complicated. Okay, so now we're back to the student management system class, and let's say we support the set marks. Okay, we can say void. So it's going to be done in a similar way. Let's say we also, this is how we expect to use it. We got SMS as the context objects over here, and then set marks will be the name of the method, and also we use Tom to identify where the student object is. In this case, that should be index of should be 1, and then have Tom, and then we're gonna find out where that EECS 2030 is, what's the index of in the courses. In that case, that'll be index of 1. Okay, because we have EEC 2030 here, and what we want to do is change the whatever the mark is to 64. Now that means rather than 61 over here, change that to 64. That's what we want to do. But how do we support that? It's also very easy. As long as we can identify the objects, we can do that very quite easily, given that we also got an index of students helper method. So set marks over here, string name, and also we got string and title of the course. So student's name, course title, and also we got also integer, the new marks, like that. Okay, so now similar as before, so we say integer index of the students would be, let's call that helper method index of students, and give the name of the students. Okay, again we can say if the index is larger than or equal to 0, that means the student does exist, so we can set their marks. Otherwise they don't exist, in which case we just say error and do nothing. Okay, and then we don't return anything. It's a mutator method. So now what can we do over here? So now what we can do, we can state this dot students at position index, and then we already support the set marks over there at that level, and then we can pass the title, and then we can pass the new marks. Okay, so now we can say this here, the set marks is implemented in the student class. Okay, I'll show you in the debugger how we actually, in this case over here, how do we switch the context into the student class. Let's first of all make sure it works. Okay. Now let's go back to the SMS tester over here. So now let's do something very simple. So now what we can do is out to say, after setting Tom's ECS 2030 marks to, let's say we want to set it to, as we said, 64 to 64. That means after which, if we try to get Tom's mark again, it's going to be 64, right? Used to be 61. After we set it to 64, that should become 64. Okay, so now if you try that, let's run the tester and see what's going on. Okay, you can see that, first of all, before we try to set the marks, it's 61. After we have done that, it's now still 61. Or, oh, it's because we didn't call that method yet. Okay, be careful. Okay, after that, so now that means we're gonna say sms.setMarks. Okay, so now we say Tom EECS 2030 and then 64, the new marks. Okay, it's really important. Okay, so this message here is only for information, to make your output more informative. It doesn't have any effects on the objects. Run the tester again. So what you will see is over here, you can see that after that we do have 64. And if you like, what we can do is we can say sout, and then let me just show you one more thing. SMS.toString. Okay, and also I will also put something like here, the toString. So we're gonna compare the toString for the SMS before and after. Okay, let's see also that. So now let's run again. Let's see what happened. Okay, so now you can see that before we try to set the marks of Tom is 61. And how can we find that? Okay, so you can see overall it's a student management system of 2 students, and then under Tom over here you can see that the course record for 2030 has 61 over here, right? Now, after setting the course mark for Tom to be 64 for 2030, after that, the number of students remains to be 2 because we don't change the students array. We don't change the students array. We only change the corresponding courses array for the matching students. Okay, so now in that case, we'll see that the number of courses for the Tom is still the same because we don't add any courses, but we do modify the object it is pointing to. In this case, it will be 64 marks for the 2030. Okay, hopefully you can also see that. Now, finally, I would like to show you very briefly on the debugger. Especially, I want to put a breakpoint over here. I will show you only for the set marks. The idea about get marks will be just the same. So now let me now run the debugger over here. Okay, run the debugger. And then now we pause over here right before we set the marks. So currently it is still 61. So now we step into this particular method call. So let's look at where the context is. The context is Student Management System. So we're calling this new method here, and the name is Tom. Title is ECS 2030, and the new marks is 64. Okay, and then we want to find out what's the index of Tom. We know that the index of Tom should be 1 over here, right? So now if we step over, you will see the index now is 1. And of course, the index of student is running a loop to see what the index is. You should really go over the implementation for index of students as well. Okay, so now index is actually 1. In which case, we'll just go over and then go execute this branch. Now, you can see that this .students at position index is similar to the S2 over here, right? Over here, you can see that, and then the set marks. So where is that method? So now if we say step into again, you can see that we'll switch the context from Student Management System into the students class. Okay, if we say step into, So now we are now in the student class over here, and now we're in the set marks. And what's the index over here? When we say index of course, what's the title? 2030. Because we know that we are already at index 1 for the students array, so now we are at this object over here. And now we're calling the set marks method for that. So now for the set marks, you will calculate the index of the students, the course called EECS 2030. In which case, what will be the index of 2030 for this particular student? That should be index 1 over here, right? Okay, that should be index 1. It's pointing to this record over here. Okay, so now if we say step over, you can see the index is 1. Okay, now you can also see that from here, this is a student, and then under courses, you will see index 1. Index 1, we do have the title 2030. Okay, that's another way to confirm. Okay, we'll step over. So now we're gonna call the set marks. Okay. Okay, this one is even more interesting. So we got another set marks over here. What's that set marks? So think about this. What's this? This is a student's objects because we are now in the student class. And then this dot courses over here. This dot courses over here is a course array. And then this dot courses at index will be a course objects. And we also call the set marks for that particular course, right? So now what's this particular course? It is exactly this course object over here. And then we call the set marks to change from 61 to 64. So now what's gonna happen if I try to step into? If I say step into, we'll switch the context to just another class. If they step into, now we are in the set marks method in the I said step over rather than step into. Can I just do it again? I really want to show you. So this example is so important because we are it's involving 3 versions of the set marks method. Okay. This method invocation involves 3 levels of set marks methods. Level number 1, set marks, where we pass the name of the students, title of the course, and also the new marks at student management system. And then which will in turn call the second method, which will be also called set marks. And then we already know the index of the particular student, so we don't have to give the name anymore. And so we only give the title of the course and also new marks at the student class. And then the third level will be, again, a set marks method. Now, we already know where the course is, so we don't have to pass a title anymore. So we just say new marks at course record. Okay, can I just use the debugger to show you one more time? But you should really review. This particular example is really interesting. When you actually try to implement this, all you got to do is call this, which will in turn call this. Okay. Let's go to the debugger once more and see what happens over here. Okay, so now we are here, and then we step into. So now we are in the set marks. So now we're calling the set marks in the tester. Okay, so we will step into. So now we are in the set marks for student management system. Okay, index of, and then, so now we will switch the context. So this set marks over here is going to be the set marks for the student class over here. So if we say step into, so now we are in the student class and we got set marks. And then we find out what's the index of 2030, in which case that will be index 1. And that will give us the course record objects over here. And then, so now, if we step into it again, it will give us the set marks for the course record objects, the course record class. So let's step into. If I do that, you can see now, we're now in the course record class, right? So now the set marks only take the new marks over here. And then we just do this marks is equal to marks. Okay? After that, you'll see that that's exactly where we set the marks to be 64. Okay? So hopefully you see that chain of call over here. Okay, so basically this video over here will show you the 2 new methods. One is called set marks, the other one is called get marks. over here. So these two methods are defined at the level of the student management system. That's why you have to first of all identify where the student is before you can call the corresponding get marks and set marks method at the student level. Okay, you should really review this more carefully. Okay, and make sure you can also reproduce similar methods for your own model classes.